Good evening. Sam Tolbert, Sound of Joy Music Services, and another impromptu viewer request uh, live stream. I was going through the list of mounting viewer requests, those for the viewers who would like me to break down a song so they can accelerate their learning of it. And I ran across the one Awesome God by Michael W. Smith. I've heard of the song, but I wanted to see what version was he doing it. And the minute that I heard it, I says, "Oh, okay, that's a quick one that I can do on a live." Am I going to try to gospelize it? I may throw a little seasoning in it, but he was doing a tremendous job piano work. So I always want to be able to uh, give an interpretation of how you can take any song, not necessarily go full ham gospel with sevenths, thirteenths, diminished, and minor chords, but still be able to add to whatever song that you happen to be learning. So we're going to look at the song from Michael W. Smith, Awesome God. I heard the actual piano work in the front. I may put on the headphones just to see if I can capture some of his notes, but because I'm very familiar with the song from the very first time it came out, it wasn't hard to automatically for me to, I say, ungospelize it and get into the Christian contemporary mode. I'll put it like that to how he approached the song. So, as always, you're free to ask questions. I am monitoring the stream from my iPad. For those that are on my Facebook page, if you want to have a comment or a question, you'll have to come to the YouTube page, Sound of Joy, all one word, on the YouTube platform. Let's get into the song. Our God is an awesome God. So, as I said, I am turn on one more light. Very familiar with this song, and I always appreciate when musicians are actually, excuse the bumping around, just setting up my microphone, when musicians are actually playing these type of songs, because musicians have I'll call it a spirit about them, especially when they're on an actual piano. When they get to open up any song and it's just them, uh, it's like music. I want to use the word magic, but it's actual mastery. Key of G. As you know, anything I do will always have a scale attached to it, because that's where you're going to hear your chords. Not just the right hand, but the left hand also. Always, everything I open up has a scale to it, because you want to be able to feel the notes underneath your fingers. Now, this is one of those songs that has a um, a pattern that stays in place throughout the entire song. So, for those who count the number system, there's your one, your two, your three, your four, your five, your six, your seven, and your octave eight or one again. Major, diminish, minor, major, major, minor, minor, major. I'm all about teaching not just the number system, but the Nashville number system and the designation of not just number, but chords in that system. So, in the number system format, it's going to be on the four with the melody, to the one, to the five, to the six, to the 4, to the 1, to the 5, to the 6. Well, again, when you request, and this is the requester, I always ask this, that if you don't give me more information, then you're going to get the song the way that I find it on the actual YouTube channel. Going down to the E flat is not an issue. Hey, how you doing, Gifts? And how you doing, Brent, buddy? Excuse me. But any key that it is taught in, it is almost the same concept when you change the key. Know the scale in that key, and then you'll be able to play it in any key. I will go to the E flat though, because the original song done by, what was her name? Oh, I see her face, but I don't see her name. But the original key was done in E flat, and I learned it in that key. How you doing, Andre? So I'm going to do it in this key because when you said Michael W. Smith, I'm going with the chords that he had in his song. But give me a chance. Give me a chance. There's something to be learned playing this song in every key, and that's not a myth. I'm not showing any kind of anger or any kind of dismay. I just like information because that gives me a chance to be able to approach the song with the right approach to it. Again, E flat and G, they are just chords on the piano. So let me just cover his opening, and then I will get to E flat. Now, would you begin to? Well, yes, I am speaking of Helen Baylor. Thank you. So when you look at the approach of in the version of Michael W. Smith, because that's the one I can only talk to now. I will get to the Helen Baylor version. That's much more of a contemporary gospel feel. As the song continued to go on in the key of G from the Michael W. Smith version, he began to build his chords. So as he began to add more of the fullness of the piano sound, it gave him an avenue to, as the people began singing the melody in unison, not too much harmony that I could hear from the YouTube recording of this song. So it allows the musician to create chords out of the number system. Again, you're in the 4, a 5 to the 1. Let me see, that's 6, 5, 5 plus, or the 3 if you want to look at that. 6, 3, 4, the 1 to the 5. Now I'm using a diminished chord there. That's the gospel sound. That would be the classical sound. That will be the number system sound. A 3 major to the 6 minor, the E minor. But when you want to be able to, and I'm gonna add a little bit of gospel seasoning to it because it never hurts. 2 5 1 1 2 5. My diminished chord. Now, as you can see, I'll call out the 2 5 1 because that is the designation that jazz musicians give to a particular pattern, which I'll call transportation chords. If you want to get from the G to the C, you're going to go 2, which is in the C scale, 1 2, to the C's 5, which is G with a seventh, and then to the 1, which would be any chord that you want to use in the key of C. And the same way to get out from there. If you want to get out from the C back to the G, 2 in, let me see, it's a 2 5. No, there's no 2 there. But if you're in the key of D, this will take you back to the G. Hmm. Hmm. 7 1 plus to the 6, 2 5 1 E da, da. I always get crossed up using the number system terminology because the 2 5 1 determines what key you want to land in. So you may be in the key of G, but now you're doing a 2 5 1 chord progression in the key of C. I like chord names. As you see, the Chordy app will show you the chord names. I find that to be a lot easier to let me know where is my melody going, and that will determine what chord is going to be selected based upon what the actual composer used. The 4. No, I like going here, but I could go to the 1. This is what the songwriter uses, but I like the 2. Or from a bass standpoint, it gives a little bit more color when it's that tone because there's my 1 there. This is a gospel turn. 2 5 1 2 5 1 2 5 1. 2 5 1. Now you go full gospel, full jazz. But the natural nature of the song is fine. Any questions for those that are watching? Of course, those are on my Facebook page who are viewing this. You'll have to come to the YouTube channel in order to ask any questions if you have any. But the whole this whole gospel music thing is, as the musician, be it in a group of musicians, they all have to be on one accord. They have to know the path in which the song is taking, and what generic chord path, which is the natural number system. 4 1 5 6, 4 1 5 6. Not a lot of chord names if you're doing the number system. 4 1 5 6. Back to the 4, to the 1, to the 5, and you're going to end in the 6, because this is how the song was sculpted in the CCM format. Piano players have that luxury to use all 88 keys. To the 1, to the 5. You know you're going to the 6, which is the E minor. Which scale is that? Dum, 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 dum. Harmonic minor scale. 4. Again, I cover the part arpeggios. You form the chord before you play it, and you lock your hands in place. So wherever you drop your thumb, when you drop your thumb, all the notes, if you just hold it frozen like this, should fall in place. So you just do broken chords using your sustain pedal. Otherwise, you'll get this. Doesn't quite sound the same unless you're holding a chord. You need the sustain pedal. Major. All right, so that covers the Michael Smith version, but apparently it was asked for in the key of E flat. Let me just verify that. Okay. It was asked for the key of D flat, not E flat. Oh wait. Again, I should read all of the requests. D flat and B flat. Can I do the numbers as well? Okay, the numbers are easy. 6 4 1 5 6 4 1 5 6 4 1 6. But I see D flat and B flat, but the requester is in here and wanted it in, says E flat. So let's put the Chordy app in a generic setting, and we'll go to all 3 of those keys, because this is a live, and I do believe in giving every interpretation of music. So we'll go to the D flat, because that's what was requested. Now that I read, sometimes I actually highlight the song, so I can, because I have so many, and I don't highlight the entire line. D flat. So the 1 to the 4 to the 1 to the 5 to the 6 to the 4, to the 1, to the 5, to the 6, 2, or rather 3, 4. This is block chords. 1, 5, 6, 3, 4, 1, 5, 6. You want to add a little gospel to it. 2, 5, 1, 7, 6, 7, 1, 3, 2, 5, 6, 5, 5, 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, 5, 1, 7, 3, 6. Again, I'm trying to look at these. I'm looking at my bass hand to see what number system would be called out, but of course the chords and the number systems can be differently. So many chords that are in other songs can be substituted for the basic patterns. Because you know where you're going. There we go. Yeah, I believe E flat. I'm sorry, it was another key. D flat and B flat was the other. This is, I'm reading the actual request that was posted. Welcome, Whale. This is lovely. How can what you just played now be broken down? If you're familiar with every song out there that has turn chords, if you're in the 1 and you want to go to the 4, a 2, 5, 1 in the key of G flat will take you to the 4. 2, 5, 1. Those who use the number system, 2, 5, 1. And I can only apply the number system to the left hand because those are the bass notes. Let me see. 2, 5, and now the 1 falls in the landing key. So even though you're in the scale of D flat, the minute you want to go to a chord or to the 4th note, this now becomes the root key. No longer is the root key D flat. You have left the root key, which is why the number system, to me, can be confusing. Because what if you don't want to end up in the 4, but you want to end off in a different bass note in the 4? But with the number system being the guide, not necessarily the rule, but the guide, to the 4. Now we're in the 4. Still in the 4. Now we're back in the 1 of D flat. Now we're in E flat. Now we're in A flat, which is a 5. Now we're in F. Now we're in B flat. Now B flat is the 1. Now we're back into the F. 2 5 1 1 2 3 4 5 2 5 1, which is why I get confused talking to the number system, because I hear chords, I don't hear numbers. I hear what chord progression will take me the way I want it to take me. I could just go straight to the 4, to the 1, straight to the 5, to the 6, to the 4, to the 1, to the 5, to the 6. That is fine for playing the song. A million records, billions of songs are written with just that format. But the gospel musician always hears more notes, and you can't really what's the word? Not compensate. You can't really replace that with numbers. The gospel musician hears those changes. The jazz musician hears these changes. That's what the gospel musicians hear. And we hear what the jazz musicians hear, because we are, how can I put this? We are from the generation of jazz musicians. We didn't learn jazz, but we learned some of the sound nomenclature they used. This move, you will hear that in a lot of songs from the 70s. But gospel borrows from everything it hears. If we hear classical, the jazz runs, which help to fill in space. The classical when you start getting into that gospel nuances, you change the song to the singer, but the listener is going ooh. And in most cases, you'll get the singers singing a lot stronger, because they're hearing the nuances, as you use, or we use that word, being added to what they learned in rehearsals. That's why in rehearsals, when I played in rehearsals, I never did all this movement. Not even during the service did I do all those movements. Now, if I was doing a solo piece by myself, then it's called, I can pull in whatever I want. Now, from here, from the 5, I know I'm going to the 6. How do I want to get there? Back to the 4. Now I know I'm going to wind up in the 6. How do I want to get there again? Now, do I want to go minor, or do I want to go major 6? Let's go major 6 with a jazz twang. But all of these chords, how you doing, Jeff? The majority of these chords are found in every song you've ever heard. It's about placement, where you want to place it. When you get down this, when you get down to the lower ends, I have to hear the chords. Take away chords to hear the movement. Would you say it's always best to keep simple as possible, even when learning some chords that are heard? I'll say that are heard in the song. It's always when you're learning a song, you don't want to add all the sauce yet, because you don't know how much you don't want to apply to the song. The and I'll use this. I still got to go to B flat, right? I didn't go to B flat. I'll use this analogy. When you're playing in a church, you don't want to take away from what the lyrics of the songs are, because that's what's going to capture really the mind of the listener or the singer. The minute you start changing it up because you feel a certain way musically, you change the whole impact of the song. So this song, when it first came out in E flat, I felt the song always sounded dark because it ended on that C minor. So when I taught the song, I'm like, come on, I can't have the song end that dark. Instead of this one, I went here. Then I would do I would give that jazz turn, the half tone, half tone. Then I would always try to resolve it to take that dark tone and just add that A flat at the top, so this C minor doesn't sound so dark. I would always try to change it to come out of there. Now that dark tone with that B flat, which is why I said the number system would have said stay on the 6. I'll go to the 5 or the 4. And I would somehow always try to end the song with that chord. But that doesn't come from just learning the song in its base state. It's when you begin to, as a musician, look at where the tones lead. Do I want to end on a minor tone, which is a classical feel? that's just me, just using tones I've heard in other songs. I just lost a light. I didn't charge it. I think that should give me enough so I can cover. But the other, again, the next request was to do the same song in the key of B flat. Let me get another light in place here because it's you need to be able to see my hands. So be right back. All right, running the light in. So you're always going to look to. I hear the Helen Baylor version. It was very much different than the Michael Smith version. Well, the Helen Baylor version was a gospel version, where the Michael Smith version was written in the Nashville chord system. The Helen Baylor version was written in the gospel version. Same notes, but a different seasoning of chords. One chord, maybe one bass note change from the Helen Baylor version. Plus, she sung it like a solo. In fact, I haven't heard the Helen Baylor version in so long. Let me just pull it up so I can hear what was in that version. It's been years since I heard that version. Helen Baylor. We put you on mute so that you don't hear it and I don't offend the YouTube copyright. As I said, the gospel version. That's the change note, not here, but here. This note, there's the change they use. This is out of the system. And they have this chord, the half tone, and she sung it as a solo. And again, who's right and who's wrong? There is no right or wrong. There is just the music. So whichever one that you can gravitate to in the atmosphere that you're in, that's what you go to. If you were to play the Michael W. Smith chords with a Helen Baylor voice, it would still sound the same. a little slower because of how she sung it, but it would still sound the same. You would know that you would recognize the song, number one from the lyrics, number two from the melody. That's how songs are recognized. Nowadays, there are four chords used in a majority of the songs. Unless you hear a melody or the words, you'll be guessing what song are they playing. If I just went and just start doing this, how many songs could you apply those chords to? 4, 6, 4, 1, 6, 4, 1, 5, 6. How many songs can you apply those four chords to? You'd have to wait to hear the melody to hear, or if you didn't know the title, you'd be guessing which version of which song are we playing. Of course, those chords keep all the musicians locked outside of the guitar player who can just go around those chords, or the pianists. But everybody else knows, don't come out of that system, because this is where we can all stay together. The Helen Baylor version gives you this chord, and they change the chord. They're not doing the major, they're doing the C minor. They give you that F, the B flat, that's the gospel or the jazz turnaround to take you to the 4. Nothing wrong with these chords. Again, sad sounding, but unless you want to change it. But I believe there was the B flat was the other request for that melody. And again, same notes, same progressions, just a different key. B flat. The Helen Baylor version, not the Michael Smith version. Michael Smith, Helen Baylor. And you got to have full chords to bring out the fullness of the song. The Michael Smith version, two, 5, 1 to E flat. Two, 5 to take it to the G minor. 2, 5, 1, Michael Smith version. I was trying to think of a Richard Smallwood chord. Don't normally do it in B flat. B flat with an F. No, minor. These songs that are in the minor mode are classical in nature. Anything minor has a classical feel to it. Minor, major, major. I would have ended it in the major, not in the minor, just to, I'd say, give it a little bit more of a happier ending. That's where I would have taken it, just sort of get it out of that minor mode. But sometimes a classical feel, that dark mode, sticks more in a person's spirit. That's why it's so important for a musician not to just listen to church music or to jazz or R&B or hip hop, but get some classical music in you, because you're going to find that they all borrowed from each other. Every piece of music that was listened to by another musician who maybe didn't have a classical teacher, but he listened to what they were doing. Yes, ma'am. That Mission Impossible. They all borrowed. Get Smart. They all borrowed from classical music. Peter Gunn, I believe. I learned a lot of music as a youngster that I heard, but couldn't understand how they were doing it. But I remember where the notes were. So if I ever got to a piano and had to sit and recall the things I heard as a youngster, I could now find those tunes, maybe not in the exact key I heard it in, but in an appropriate key, in the vein of what it sounded like. So that I believe I've answered those questions for the viewer request for tonight. I went to B, I went to G. The Michael W. Smith version was in G, but I also did it in D flat, in E flat, and in B flat. So what if you had to do it in the key of E? I gotta get my fingers comfortable in E major. Got the C or D flat or C minor, E flat. Turn. Now I can stretch out. Two, 5, 1. B major. Scale. Diminish. 7th on A flat or G minor. There it is. I know we're going to the E minor, excuse me, to the D minor. I want to clean it out. Major. Once you again fall into where the scale is, find the chords. Generic 4, 1, 5, 6, 4, 1, 5, 6, 4, or 3, 6, 2, 2, 5, 1. B major. I keep saying A flat. 2, 5, 1, 1. B. Trying to think of the classical turns. There it is. 2, 5 in C sharp 1. When I hear the Bellin version, it's very much different than my. Okay, I think that was the last comment that I see there. So for those who have been watching me, I appreciate you coming and spending some time with me here in my live viewer breakdown. Let's see, what songs do I have left on my list here. This one is done. Now we still have "I Made It Out" by John P. Key. Not a lot of chords in that. I believe it is in G, or maybe F. Let's see. "I Made It Out." Not a lot of chords. "I Made It Out," John P. Key. Let's hear those what those chords are. So "I Made It Out." I don't have to do that one now because the requester is here. G7. The 1 to the 4. Turn on the 6, 2, 3, 5, 6. That's the only chords you have. Again, your musicianship will tell you whether or not you could fill in all the other music that's happening in the background. John P. Key has a tremendous talented band. And so I'm not going to try to capture what they're doing. You get the bass chords. Go up into A flat. Turn 2, 3, 4. It's all about practicing and learning all the different movements that fall into all the scales. If you know your major scales and your minor scales and your jazz minor scale and your jazz scales, these songs are easy because they are following a scale. Major, a minor scale. Anytime you got that minor in there, the turn, turn, and all your notes are right across here. So that takes care of the I made it out because the viewer that requested it is live also. So there's your song. Again, practice those chords with the video and you'll be right there. Let's see who else is on my I have not got to yet list. That's done. Pressing My Way, Timothy Wright. I heard a brief playing of that and I've never heard it before, so that's some time. That's done. That's done. Wow, I'm getting most of what's on my list. My Soul Got Another Dip. Didn't I do that one already? The Alabama Mass Choir. Yes, I did. My Soul Got Another Dip. In A flat, I believe. The Victory Is Ours as We Sing Unto Jesus. Is that the Caribbean one? Bishop Clarence. I haven't done that one yet. Probably the wrong key, but that's what my mind goes back to because I always pull these videos up to see which ones are going to take the longest for me to have to learn and then break down. That one I remember had a nice Caribbean beat to it. That's going to be a fun one to break down and teach us a lesson. What else do I have listing? That's done. That's done. That's done. That's done. Okay, so the list is thinning out. So those two. Looks like I got two left on the list because I just did I Made It Out. I'm not going to add no more to it. As I said, not much on that song. It's just the chords being repeated, and of course all of the music wizardry of the John P. Key band. So as always, I thank those who do come and allow me to spend time showing you the tips and techniques that I've used over the years to break down any gospel song. And as you can see, I can also do whatever the music calls for. Just going to change my scene. Those that are on my Facebook page watching, you will see me perhaps pop in tonight just to show some love to those that are over there. As I say, I'm about helping musicians become a better version of themselves. I'm very aware of all the other gospel music content creators. We all watch each other. I know that, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that because I learned something from all the other content creators that watch me. Sometimes I hear certain comments and statements that I've used on my page for centuries, I don't say centuries, but for years, and I hear that same talking point, especially when we start talking about learn the scales, because in the scales you will find the chords and the melody. not just learning the number system to know that we're in the one, the four, the six, or the five, but what's the melody that is being held up by those chords. And then, of course, they're teaching the more advanced contemporary uh, chords that I stay away from. I champion that traditional sound, that sound that I heard during my day back of the late 70s, 80s, and 90s when I was in the Church of God in Christ, to where we were allowed to expand on those full sounding chords because those were the songs we were learning until, of course, the urban gospel sound came in with Hezekiah Walker. With well, John P. Key was more of a southern urban sound, but the Kirk Franklin who brought in his contemporary gospel sound and so forth and so on to where we are right now. But there should be no music that is unavailable for a musician to get to if they would just ask those of us, again, I'm not the only one out here, as I said, who are offering our services. I do mine at a price that is accessible by everyone because my skill set is for the learning musician. Those who want to have that more professional sound, you should be compensating the person who is taking their time to teach you the more professional studio sound. I'll get you through the church. I'll get you where everybody that came to hear you play leaves full and satisfied. And you should never, as a musician, go to church feeling if though you gave a half effort. I've never, for those that say when they're playing, they get bored playing church music. I can't think of one service in my 48 consecutive years as a musician that could ever say I was bored with how I approached music in the service. As you see, when I'm just playing, demonstrating what I'm listening to, you'll see me branch off into different chords, into different licks, into different sounds, into different patterns, because they are all a part of what I've learned in my years. Coming in September, I'm going to delve strictly into the gospel sound. That may be a 4 or 5. Hey, thank you, Gospel Music for Life. That might be a 4 or 5 um, uh, video series on that gospel sound because it's what that I have listened to. I do watch live streams of musicians on the internet when they post themselves playing or their services being posted, and what I'm hearing missing in the church online services is that gospel sound that turns the they use the term atmosphere. I'll use the term that helps to raise the level of a service without just having to get loud or to have to keep padding, doing layers of sounds um, to. I'm not going to call out certain churches because I look at not only the home churches, home front churches, but the big churches also. I hear what they're doing with their professional musicians. I'll say highly paid to the ones that are just somebody with an organ and or piano and a keyboard and a drum. How you doing, sir? I listen to what everyone is doing, and then of course in my instructor mindset, I'm going, okay, why aren't you using this chord in that song? Or if you're not familiar with that song, pull back from using those chord changes and just follow the melody and then add on those changes. Give the listener something to anticipate. It's like, nobody wants to come and see somebody dunk basketballs all day. See 10 guys, all they're doing is dunking. You want to see somebody go out to the 30-foot line and hit a 30-footer. I'm that musician that will go out to the 30-foot line and nobody will come out there and I'll start draining them from 30 feet out to get the attention of those who are watching. Yes, gospel music for life. I came up not as a listener of the gospel sound, but also participating as I began to learn the more gospel infused songs. I added that sound into the church songs. Um, Trying to think of the actual standard songs of my day. If I were to call out Do I offer foot pedal lessons for organs? That's one of the hardest things to learn. No, I don't, because I would have to be physically on site with a person learning the foot pedals to see the length of their foot, number one, the length of their leg, number two, and how they seat themselves on the organ. If you can't reach with your heel the top of the D flat key, you won't know how to pivot left and right. In other words, I have to know how far away the seat is. Are you of a size that doesn't allow you to get close enough to be able to feel comfortable playing? Because playing the organ, and I'll just say this, playing the organ and the piano has stressed my back. I won't use the word stretch. It has stressed it because you had to be sitting somewhat erect when you're playing in order to ease the stress of your muscles being in one position for sometimes 2 to 3 hours. Even when I'm sitting here, I have to get up and walk around and start stretching to get that pullness, that tightness out of my back. That's why I would stress musicians to always, if the preachers complain because you get up and walk around, tell them to sit there, try sitting there for and be in a locked position playing with your muscles tight, playing notes for 2.5 hours and see how they like it. Again, you can't complain about somebody's of the way somebody's shoes are until you've walked a mile in their shoe. What's that term? Until you've walked a mile in somebody else's shoes, you won't know what it's like to walk that far. You'll never know what it's like being a musician for an entire service and never having an opportunity to go and stretch yourself. Even the people get a chance to stand up every now and then and do the things that they're going to do. But foot pedals is, I have videos of it here on my channel already of a organ DVD that I've done, but it really doesn't do justice because I trained myself on a Hammond organ. So I'm trained I know how far to put my seat. I know what shoes to be wearing. You don't play foot pedals wearing sneakers because your feet will stick. And you don't stomp on the pedals. You actually have to control the weight of the position and the weight of your leg to control to hit the foot pedals correctly. I have 13. Let me see, 13 or 15. I have 13. I have many foot pedals here that I use when I do my Hammond organ videos, virtual Hammond organ videos, and I can't play them with shoes on. I have to take off the shoes because if I stomp too hard, I'll wind up breaking it, thinking that I'm on a real organ, and the spacing is not the same. Yes, that is always wise to have a seat next to you, just so that you can sit after you've stretched your back. I mean, actually stand up and give yourself one of these. Pull back, let the muscles now retract, and then sit yourself down on a seat where you have an actual back to it. But that's something that again that would be covered in with a live one-on-one lessons, which I don't do. I like virtual. It allows me to leave an actual recording of what I've done, and it also gives me, I don't have to travel nowhere. Don't have to worry about someone missing an appointment or getting to a church and it's locked and I don't have nobody has the key. It takes this virtual takes all those distractions out of it where I can just talk straight to music. So again, I you have opportunity to ask questions. I don't have to always be playing, always be showing something. I want to be able to make these lives informative and as well as two-way communication. I have to work on my communication skills anyway. So if you have any questions, that's why I'm here. For those that are watching on the Facebook, let me see if I can go into my Facebook page while I'm live here and see if any questions have popped up. I can do that. I'm on Facebook now, going into my page. And I see no questions. See if any questions have popped up. I can do that. All right. I hear myself talking. Get out of that. Okay, so I see nothing on my Facebook page. It is being broadcast there. I believe a question just came up as I was scanning. Let's not lose that. I tried personal lessons at one time. This is Gospel Music for Life. And that not showing up was always an issue. So I stopped. Yeah, that, because life happens. People at the turn of a hat, a phone call or a missed bus or a car breakdown or something that will, when you make plans and you set up a time, and even the person who's going to be teaching, they get caught up in something, a phone call or some concern. Maybe if you're working if you're working a full time job and they ask you to stay late, and you have to go, oh man, but I had something planned. But then the day job comes with benefits, so you always make that choice. Can you play One God, One Faith? Why do you want to hear that? You know that song. I think I played that song for you the last time you came on. So, and my cousin, my cousin Rich plays it better than me anyway. But since you asked, let me touch on it. Um, it was always done on the organ, so I have to put my keyboard in organ mode. One God, One Faith, and One Baptism was a prayer chant for a Sunday night radio broadcast in the Bronx, the Garden of Prayer Cathedral Church of God in Christ, pastored by the late and great Bishop William James Robinson, songwriter, composer, musician. What's a good practice routine? What's and how? You don't have my my workbook from 2011 that I created that has 8 steps for a practice routine. Let me pull that up because it's always good to share information that that can not only inform but that can instruct. Okay, I've got my workbook up. I'll give you my previous 8 steps I put in there that if you don't have a practice routine, okay, there's the page there. Let's see if I can go to a scene where I can display it. Not here, not there, definitely not there, not there. Okay, let's go to this page right here. And let's capture the window. Where are you? Where are you? One, two, three. Okay, my sound is there. Give me a chance to change around my camera. That's better. Now, these are not out of an actual book, but these are basically how I would approach a musician learning from me. And let's expand this page out so that it can be read. expand it out some more. Practice routine was the question. This is what I stressed for in my course for musicians who don't have a practice routine. If you don't have one, this is what I always recommended. And I wrote this out in 2011 in a workbook. As a new musician, I believe it is very important that you follow, should be a routine of practice until you're ready to go at it on your own, which means you don't stick to my routine of practice. But if you've never had one, which a lot of musicians don't, they just sit down and just start working on chords. This is what I always suggest because for me, it's how I became efficient in my playing. I could never say I sat down for a practice session and I left bored or didn't learn anything. It was a routine that I used. And number one dealt with turning off your cell phone. Distractions and interruptions ruin any practice session. You may as well not even have had a practice session if you're going to be under the distraction of a cell phone. Next, number one, pray. And I gave you, if you don't have a prayer, in my workbook, I supplied what I called a musician's prayer, which I got off the internet. And let me change the size of this page so that you can see that. So if you don't know what to say, I gave you a generic prayer that I found off the internet. I just want to change the size of this because it is, I made it large enough so that it could be seen on the page. A little more, and then there we go. Now, need to get rid of me. There you go. A generic prayer. If you're going to be a church musician, then you want to have a prayer that's going to give you, that's going to humble your thoughts and humble your demeanor at that time. Don't practice when you're sad. If you're feeling, I won't use the term the D word. I don't know what that D word means. I've never been the actual D word. I've always been up and never down because I always plan for what's going to happen in my life. And if something goes that I did not plan, then I look back and I go, how did I miss that? But you always want to have a state of mind that is going to focus on why you are practicing. You're not practicing for you. So, oh Lord, please bless the music that it might glorify your name. That takes you out of it. That takes you trying to play to impress another musician out of it. May the talent that you have bestowed upon me be used only to serve you. Again, that takes you out of it. You're not playing to impress some young lady sitting in the back row or sitting in the front row or the choir members or the visiting musicians that came to the church for a service with their choir. Again, practice is for you. It's not for anybody else. It's for you. Let this music be a witness to your majesty and love, comma, and remind us that you are always watching and listening from your throne above. And again, I will argue this point with any musician who says God has never heard you play. If he knows your beginning and your end, you can't impress him by what you know. But there are someone out there that has never heard you play. You're to be the influence musically on them. God don't care that you learn 5 chords. Learn the 6th and 7th chord, because somebody out there that only knew you with 5 chords will be amazed that you've added a sixth and a seventh chord. May your presence and beauty be found in every note played so that it reaches who? The hearts of who? God, no, your people, and draw them where? Closer to you or to God. So if you're playing music that you heard Stevie Wonder play, Ribbon in the Sky, because you like those chords, who are you playing? Whose hearts is that music supposed to be reaching? Again, this is the attitude that I want to musicians who are taking instruction from me to understand why I can listen to music and start to tear it apart immediately. Highest note, lowest note, every note in between, patterns, chords, modes, classical mode, CCM mode, gospel mode, jazz mode, Caribbean mode. That's how I can tell which one mode they're in and what chords they're using and why they're being placed, because I'm learning it so that I can adequately and as proficiently as possible replicate what I'm hearing, because it may bless the next person that hears me play it. Final line, may your spirit guide us, and it should be me, but make it personal, through every measure so that we might be the instruments of peace and proclaim your glory. Amen. Then the lesson begins. And as you can see, this booklet, which others have already asked for, and I have freely shared it with them. And I say, I'm showing this booklet now probably for the 20th time on a live. I've shared this booklet with hundreds of thousands of people since 2011, because this booklet is number 7 out of 6 booklets, and I believe this one had the largest amount of downloads. This booklet ended my website because of so many downloads. It took my pricing from a really, nominal fee to over $300 a month because of so many downloads. And I said, you know what, I can't, because I'm doing this for free, and because I want to be able to help musicians everywhere, and I want to start attaching a fee to them. So I ended that website, but I kept the booklet because it still has a lot of information. As you can see, I target the new musician first. Now, who's the new musician? In my eye, the new musician is the musician who's playing 5 to 10 years for church right now. If you're brand new going to the piano, I'm not for you. Although I did cover for the person who's brand new going to the piano. But I want the person who transferred over from the drums, from the bass, who was doing the sound, who every now and then would go over there and pluck some notes on the piano. Somebody sat them down and showed them 2 or 3 chords, the real easy ones, and then walked away from them. I want that musician who has a desire to learn music for one purpose, primarily. There's a lot of purposes you can do for music. And to give them the information that accelerated my learning when I was just like them, when no musicians in my community wanted to help me. I'm one of those musicians from an early age where the established, skillful musicians would stop playing, turn their back, or shut the organ off so that I could not see their drawbar settings or how they were getting that sound out of the organ. So as I educated myself, this is how I educated myself. As you can see, the first 5 to 11 pages is for the new musician who's in church. I didn't want to leave the intermediate musician out. They are the 10 to 15 year musician. And then the advanced musician is the 15 plus year who don't need me, but I can still show them something. So I didn't leave anybody out. Again, this was written back during the days when you could print it out in your house. Now, of course, everything now is captured in your phone. This is 2011. So the early musicians, if you never learned how to form your hands, if you ever watch me play, let me see if I can change this scene. Oh, I got 2 pages like that? Okay. If you've never watched my hands when I'm playing, and I'll I'll let this be the page to show you. My hands are a mirror image of what you see on that screen. My hands are like this when I'm playing. They stretch and they're like this. You don't see my hands leave the keys. I can get to all the notes in this range just by holding my hands above the keys. So this is very important, how to hold your hands correctly, and not just the right hand, but the left hand also. So that is what this page is all about. This is for the musician who the older musicians or the senior musicians couldn't even tell you how to correctly hold your hands and the numbers of the fingers. I wanted to make sure that if you're taking any instruction from me, you're getting the book theory. These all came out of books. The names of the notes, if they're playing in the key of A flat, what key are you in? Oh, well, I'm just playing as God gives me. No, if you're in A flat, tell me it's A flat and show me where A flat is and show me how to form a chord in A flat. Well, God will bless you if you just, ask him. And then they get up and walk away. Now, that was very discouraging. That's the one D word I will use. Discouraging to me, because all I was doing was asking a question. And it was always at the end of service, not during the services. So I wanted to make sure that the musician got that information. Continuing on, the correct fingering for every scale. 2 octaves, which is why you see me do scales at the beginning of every song I'm teaching, because you need to hear the notes, the major notes that are in that scale. That is the only way, and I'll say that's the only way you're going to learn how to play by ear effective enough to be able to play any song that you're trying to learn. I made sure you got it in every key, and I didn't leave out the minor scales. Once you got comfortable doing the major scales, here are the minor scales I talk about. And I believe this is the harmonic minor scale. There's a minor scale, there is a harmonic minor scale. Both left and right hands, the black numbers are the right hands, the white numbers are your fingering for the left hand. Again, when you go back and you review, you'll see 4, 5, 3, 2, 1 on the left hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the right hand. When you look at this, you'll go, even when you look at this, if it calls out the thumb, which is number 1 in C, but if you go to D flat, it's going to call out finger number 2 to begin the scale. There's a reason for that. It's a lot easier on your hands, less stress, to start off playing D flat with your with your pinky finger and not your thumb. No one would tell me or show me that until I got the books. So you get those in all scales. Then I give you, guess what? Our God is an awesome God. What we just went over tonight. There go in E flat, the Helen Baylor version, and I give you the chords in the Helen Baylor version. That's how intent I was on the new musician, not just learning how to finger chords and finger scales, but to now apply what they just learned to a song back in that day, 2011, that was currently being sung. So if they found themselves and somebody starts singing that song, they could refer back to this or to their practice session and be able to play that song. Oh, I forgot to cover the practice session. I can always get caught up with everything. So let's go back to the practice. Again, I got so much in here that I would cover, but let's just get this out to where it is readable. So you're back now to the practice session. Prayer, start fingering. Start with scale finger in every key. Duration 5 to 10 minutes. Don't practice scales for an hour. Practice them for 5 to 10 minutes because you already know where your fingering is. You know how many. There's only 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's only 12 scales to practice. 2 octaves each, both hands. Done in 5 to 10 minutes. From there, practice your tried inversions. There is a sheet that has chords on it. 10 minutes. After that, practice chord progressions and transition chords in C, D, E flat, F for 10 minutes. Again, I give you those chords further on in the book. Now only what we're talking 10, 20, 1/2 an hour. Stop, take a break, get some water. As you can see, I'm getting little parts right now. I've got my water here. I'm going to take a sip of that. Because I've been talking a lot. Go back to my page. Alrighty. After you have done that, now you're warmed up. All the scales and the chord practice did is to warm you up. Trained your ears. Loosened up your fingers. Select 3 congregational songs normally sang at your church. Play them in the key that they sing them in using the techniques practiced from this course. Now, again, this is the practice routine for the musician who's been playing 5 to 10 years. There are some songs which are common to your church this is 2011. This is before the praise and worship. Praise and worship became dominant. They used to sing testimony songs. They used to sing, the deacons was in the Baptist church would start singing Father, I stretch my hand to thee as an opening song. Or they may sing Hold to his hand, traditional testimony song. You want to practice that at home, not when you get to church. In the key that they would normally sing in it, which means that you are already active in the church. If you're looking for a church to play for, you won't know what is the key or the main key for that church. Usually it's between the deacons and the pastor that determines what key everybody sings behind him in. And don't use the transpose key. Don't figure out that I can play in every key by just pushing this button. I put that in red for a reason. Even back then, that was a big deal. Then if you play for a choir or praise team, because praise teams were becoming prominent back then, begin practicing the songs they will sing at the next service. So hopefully they would get to you earlier in the week so that you can practice their songs. So when you got it to rehearsal, they wouldn't change keys on you. Take another break. This is now probably the hour. Now you can answer your cell phone and update your Facebook page. Again, this is 2011. Once you've done that, now you've got your next part of practice. Now you're ready to learn a new song, having warmed up and practiced all the techniques you've practiced from this course. When learning a new song, I always recommend you listen to the entire song at least 3 times. I'm to the point now where I can listen to parts of the song and start picking up what the song is actually sounding like, what chords they're using, because I've done it for so many years. But for someone who's getting used to it, listen to it at least 3 times. Hear the path of the song. Hear the intro. Hear if there's a lead. What are they playing for the lead part? Because it always changes when it gets to the choir part. Then it'll change again to I call it a pre-chorus, and then there'll be a vamp. Just so you can understand how many modes there are. Because for each mode, they never go back to one of them once they get out of it. We will cover this technique later on in the course. Okay, that was back in, again, 2011 when I was doing this course. A chord is defined as 2 or more notes played at the same time. In popular music, a chord generally has a minimum of 3 notes. And I have that as you read down, I do cover the book knowledge. Now, I'm one that believes that, change this, I'm one that believes that God can't use an empty vessel. I'm just going to be flat out, debate me if you want. I can only hold myself up as the testimony to the words that I say, and who will God use and why He will use them. But if I had not filled myself up with book knowledge and theory, I would just be a musician who likes to just play notes. But as you've been able to observe on my channel, I turn notes into chords, into progressions, into modes, into techniques, into compositions, into music, only because I took the time to fill myself with information. And let me see if I'm looking at some of that stuff I have now. Let me just go off site for a second. Just making a mess over here. What I mean by filling myself up with books, these are some of the books I would invest in. Actually, invested in drum machine programming. I invested in sheet music, going to seminars and purchasing sheet music. Because if you can play hymn music, you can learn a lot of chords from other writers. I invested in learning scales, jazz scales for improv. This is one of my best books I had, picture chords, because I would hear chords called out and I wouldn't know what they were talking about. So if somebody would call out a D, whatever this was there, you can see that. And you see how thick this book is. This is the theory I fed myself at my own expense. Let's see. Of course, this being my most prominent book, I've lost the cover of it because I've used it so much, where it contains every chord in every key. That was the most prominent book I had. This book, 330 Popular Chord Encyclopedia, where I can go through and practice. This is what I did on my practice routine. Educating my ears and my hands. Essential piano chords. I don't know if any of these books are still available. It was $14.95 back when I purchased it. But I needed to be educated in why certain chords I hear, I can't figure out where they came from. And that's just some of the books. That's not all of them. So I will stand on my testimony that I am not a good musician if I don't have any theory in me and any practical understanding as to how to listen to someone else playing and try to hear every turn of a chord that they use. If are they using a major or minor in this chord? Is why are they playing a lower F over a E flat chord? What chord are they playing in between those two chords that may be a split second, but that turns that chord into a sound that is pleasing? And that would be the Hawkins chords or the Andre Crouch chords. The Kirk Franklin chords are mirrored into very close playing. Someone was doing a breakdown of one of his songs, and It was a a I want to be correct, a um, Caucasian musician breaking down a Kirk Franklin song, and he was playing it just like him, breaking it down. I'm looking at it. I'm watching the video because I watch everybody on YouTube, and I'm going, okay. I never looked to break down a Kirk Franklin song because not everybody plays his songs like he plays it. But he broke it down, and I learned something as he was breaking it down. I go, yep, oh, wow, okay. He heard a chord or a change in it and could speak to the mode that was being used. I'd have to pull up that video again to remember the song he was doing. But it was one of his current. It's one of the current songs. Let me see if I can find that. I'll just do breakdown of Kirk Franklin. It may just come up on my feed, and I can see what song it was. Oh, he's breaking down Tiny Desk. Came right up. His song called Tiny Desk. I gotta clean up the mess I made here. Just throwing stuff on the floor. So I'm going to pull up Tiny Desk and then see how he. And my light just went out. Got missing one of my lights. We put you on mute, and I'm gonna bring up Tiny Desk and see how he broke that song down. So we put you on mute so you can't hear it. All right. Chords he has used in a lot of his songs. Nope. There it is. Again, you have to hear the whole nuances of the chord. Breaking the song down, hearing all the chords, and hearing the lowest note. Very basic R&B chord. Major, walk it. These are the chords I would get out of the book, so that if I heard those notes in a song, I'd have to go back and go, okay, what am I hearing? Oh, that's what they're doing. But where's the bass? Where's he changing it over to? A flat over a B flat. Now here it calls it a B flat sus9 because the B flat is the lowest note. But I gotta be able to hear this note and hear that change. same chords that I was covering on Awesome God. But because I used to practice that in every key, once I hear it, someone using it in their song, I go, oh, I can do it in any key. B flat. It becomes second nature hearing those chords. You don't you don't want to be a surgeon that is practicing, as they say. You want to become someone that has been trained and know what they're doing. Surgeon has a specialized skill. I can understand a music wise being a surgeon because you want to be able to cut into, eliminate all the chords, all the fluff around the song, and go to the essence of what did the composer, the original composer. These songs have been turned over so many different times, but what was the original composer putting around those chords? Let me hear some more of those chords because I may have messed up two or three of them. Let me just go back, go mute. So yes, there's so much to be learned from professionals who take a look at at the urban gospel sound and break it down so that the others, those who are not born in that generation of music, can get comfortable. Got to get to that B flat on to G flat. So, and I share that just to highlight how the music that we play on Sunday morning is no supernaturally given. The talent, yes, it can be supernatural if you're one of those young people that can be playing Mozart and Beethoven at 4 and 5 years old, reaching all those notes without sheet music in front of you. That's a supernatural talent. I was not a supernatural. I was not no. I was not a child prodigy. I did not just all of a sudden sit down and you heard music out of me. You heard noise out of me when I was 8 and 9 years old, going to the piano, trying to figure out to play that cartoon theme music that I heard. So I'm the one you said, get off that piano, get away from that organ, because I had no direction, no guide, no one to say, here's a song, excuse me, here's a song book. Learn to play the scales first, and then come back to me when you can play the scales. So that's what I do here on my website on my internet YouTube channel. I help give the musician instruction. That's why I don't call myself a teacher or a trainer. I'm an instructor. Instructor says, "Can you do this?" No. Okay. Here's the information. Here's the inspiration. Here's the guidance that says, do this. Because when you can do this, you won't have to do that anymore just for warm up. Now, can you do this? Can you play chord inversions, major notes in every key, all the octaves? Well, no, I can't. Okay. Learn to do chord inversions in every key, in every octave, up and down, left hand and right hand. Well, why do I need to know how to do that? Because gospel music uses all of those techniques. And the quicker you get acclimated to building muscle memory and your ability to hear high, low, and middle notes, and your hands can respond to what you hear, not what your eyes see, but to what you hear, then you can hear a bass player go to your left hand and begin to mimic the notes based upon the scale he's using that you've practiced over the years, and you can now become a left hand bass player on a keyboard. Then you begin to apply the chords that your right hand is hearing, not just a musician, but choir vocals. And I spent decades learning all the songs that had choir vocals because the music director wanted me to play the soprano part, which means omit everything else chord wise in the song and just learn what is the soprano singing. Their notes are based in the scale. Then I can employ the chords over their notes. I could play 3-part harmony through an entire song and just do bass and 3-part harmony. Because most times when you had a choir who was vocally challenged, you had to keep giving a note, play the alto part while the song is happening, but then chord underneath that too. I don't want to miss any statements. We still have 5 who are here watching me, so I do appreciate those. YouTube does ask us to give longer term content because that gives the watcher some information that is beneficial to them. So I learned that approach to be able um, to uh, learn the choir voicing. I think you've what was the song I did? I did God is my everything back when the song came out, and at that time I didn't have the Cordy app, was not available to me. It wasn't created, I don't think, back then. So I would type in the words on the when I would do the editing of a video I would type in, this is the choir voicing to God is my everything, and then put a bass with it so that whoever was teaching that song, they could teach the choir the correct notes from the song. Forget about the chords because the chords was secondary. You want the choir's voicings to be there, and then you can add in the song. In fact, I do believe there was a comment that someone wanted me to teach God is my everything because I did that version, but I have never did it on the Cordy app. So since this is a long stream and it's a Friday evening and it's 11:35 p.m. Here in the East Coast, I will honor that request and do God is my everything in the key of E flat, choir voicing, and the chords. So let me just change to E flat on my Cordy app. Let's go to the work stage. I don't have an editor that does my videos, so I'm going to have to service that. God is my everything. Spell it correctly, please. Watch the keyboard. Chicago. That's quiet. Now you've seen my short where I used a, let's get that typing correct, where I used my guitar patch to mimic the opening of that song, which again, some of these songs have iconic openings that if you can mimic it from a piano standpoint, if you don't have a guitar player, it only enhances the hearing of the song. All right, so one of my lights has gone out and I don't have, let's see if I can increase the brightness here, double and triple it. It's all the way up already, right? All right, we'll see if we can move that over a bit to show my hands. All right, that's the best I can get. Forgive me, I didn't charge. One of my lights is missing that I would have normally put into place. I put it someplace and I can't find it. I'm going to have to replace that light, I guess. So God is my everything. E flat. E flat. God is my everything. This is straight jazz. Straight jazz. Pentatonic scale, which means this style of music will move your audience just by them hearing it. You don't know how long it took me to train my muscles to be able to do that. And to get them both left and right hand in sync. Now, if you've got a bass player, you're not worried about the left hand bass, but you need that bottom there, or you can just hang. And you can just go right into it. The song. That is your voicing, but your chord is found in that voicing. All you're adding is your seventh chord. To your 4, he's my joy in sorrow. Up, he's my hope for tomorrow. But he's my rock in weary land. To the G7th, a shelter in the time. He's your 252. God is my every. The turn. That's the entire meat of the song right there. You've got those chords following what the voicing is doing. You've got it made. The bounce. it is. And so that that gospel sound, which is intertwined with the jazz sound, helps to give you that what they call foot stomping music. So that gets you to the first part of the song. Then you get to the turn. God is, God is, to the seventh on the G. God is, to the 2 5 1 in the 5, in the 4 on the with a seventh, 5 with a seventh. God is, to the 3 on a seventh with a major. Then the 6 2 5 1. God is, God is. Now come out to the 1, my everything. Back to the my everything. And now they've gone to the E minor, E flat minor. Right. My everything. That's all they're doing. But your chord, it fits. What else they go? When they're doing my everything, I got to remember what happens after that. My everything, my everything, everything. I guess they come out of it. He's my joy in sorrow. He's my hope for tomorrow. He's my rock in the weary land, a shelter in the time of storm. God is, God is, God is, God is, God is my everything. Trying to think there's something else missing after my everything. Now I got to pull it up and listen to it. Again, I always believe in giving all the information to someone who wants to learn a song. So let me just pull it up, just so I can verify the end of the song. Of course, my computer's locking up on me. Oh, there we go. God is my everything. Let me mute you a second. I knew there was something else. My everything. My everything. Of course, because the bass player, the lowest note, is helping to turn the chord. So, getting 3 lessons tonight. But that's how, change my scene. That's how in depth I take playing. Hey, Lewis, how you doing? That's how in depth that I tear apart songs. I knew when I was playing, because I haven't played this song in years, but I knew that there was a part that I was missing. So I had to go back to the original video and I go, oh, my everything, and the chord changes that they were using. That's how, and as a musician, as a learning musician, I'll say for those that are in that new to the intermediate stage, the more um, thirst and hunger you have for learning every nuance of what a particular song is, that song that you want to learn. Tongue tied a little bit there. A song that you want to learn, and the more enthused you are learning it. Hey, Micah, how are you doing? Then the the more enjoyment you will get as you each time you listen to it, hear something that you didn't hear the first time, which is why I recommended that you listen to a new song, at least 3 times all the way through, because you are feeding into your ears. And hopefully you don't have it too loud where you blasting it loud enough so that you can hear um, the separation of the instruments versus any kind of vocals. You will hear how it was constructed. Live settings are always the best. Studio settings are always um, oh, no problem, Sub Zero. Sub Zero. I'm keeping a promise I made in the spirit realm when I was a youngster, struggling trying to learn songs, and no musicians wanted to help me. I had made a promise, a vow, if you would call it, to God, that if I ever got good playing, I would never turn down any musician who would ask me that to show them something that I know. Now, there are some requests that I get when musicians want me to break down another musician's style. If they're not playing it in a song, I'm really not interested in learning. Like you might say, well, Corey Henry plays like this. Well, Corey Henry plays like Corey Henry. If I'm listening to a song he's doing and I hear a chord change he put in a song that I don't know, I may go back and listen to that chord change and how he used it in that song. I believe when he did the song for the late Melvin Crispell's funeral service, when he played "Wonderful Is Your Name," he did some chords in there that I still won't even touch. But there's some that I have listened to and I go, oh, let me see, how did he put that chord in there? All right, yeah, all right. I don't use that. I know the chords, but I've never used them in that frame of a song. But do I tear the whole song apart and try to learn everything he was doing? No, because that's Corey Henry, who I've often said that as a young musician, I saw him at 5 years old playing a Hammond organ. The only thing he couldn't do was reach the foot pedals. But as far as the left hand bass and right hand chords, he was doing chords where other musicians were standing there gawking. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that's not real. That's not natural. How is he playing chords that I would play in his right hand? And stretching and trying to do octave bass in his left hand. So I saw that. My eyes viewed that, and I said, "Yep, he's going to be something when he gets bigger," and he is, and still growing. But sometimes, as a musician, you have to tip your cap to the phenomenal musicians. I've never been in the spirit of competition. I was never where if I went, my choir went out to sing someplace, I was never sitting in the back waiting. Or wait, I just heard a guy play for his choir. I go, man, wait, as soon as I get on the organ, I'm gonna blast it. No, I waited until when my choir's chance came to sing. I played the song that they were going to sing, sounding like the album, of course, because that's what I always wanted to do, is sound like the album, and then sat down. One of the uh, telling moments is when you go to another church with your choir and they all have the attitude, oh, we're going to sing them under the table. And a visiting choir as a musician don't show up and they're called upon to sing. They know you and they ask you, can you play this song for my choir? Now, I'm never one to turn down a request to support anyone musically. I wasn't there in a competition where I would say, oh, no, I can't play for you. It was like, what song are you singing? Well, we're doing this song. Okay. Do you do it in this key? Yes. Okay. And I would play the song, and my choir members would have that frown on their face like, how dare you play for another choir? I felt nothing. I felt I had an opportunity to support the service with music. And then, of course, you get that look from everybody else. Hey, can you play for me? Can you play for me? Can you play for me? And then I could never leave because people recognize when a musician sits down and starts to play. So that's what I try to exude, not only in my playing of musical pieces, but when I play and I'm instructing. Here's how much you should involve yourself in what you're trying to learn. What does it sound like minus all the fluff and all the stuff? Then how much do you want to add? So when I do God is my everything, as I say, I started with the choir voicing, okay? Or with that opening with the guitar. Can I mimic that sound, that those notes he was playing? When you add the bass hand, it gets a little difficult. Now you got to think your right hand and your right and your left hand are going in two different directions. So you try to get as close as you possibly can. If I had foot pedals, then I wouldn't worry about my left hand. My foot pedals would be doing a comparable bass run if I was doing it on the organ. But in fact, I believe I taught this song. Yes, I did teach this song to a Methodist church choir, and we sang it for offertory or as one of our selections. We did for offertory. So I was on a electric pipe organ doing this song, and it still sounded. Gonna had a nice drum beat in the back. Still sounded great because I kept the chords in the same vein of the song, and I let the voices of the choir members um, in their melodious notes. They held sheet music. They didn't couldn't clap because they held sheet music, but the audience would support because we didn't have a drummer at that time. But I made do because I wanted the song to have its purpose. Let people hear that God is my everything. He's my joy in sorrow. He's my hope for tomorrow. He's my rock in a weary land, a shelter in the time of storm. God is my everything. We didn't do the vamp part. And again, it was a Methodist church, so we weren't going to go there. But we got the essence of that first part of the song, and that's as a musician when you begin to scan your audience musically and say what can go and what can't. We don't need to have them running the aisles in a Methodist church, but we do want them their souls to be lifted. That they came to church. Not only did they hear a good word, but they heard good singing. I've been on now, I believe it's got to be closing in on 3 hours. Trying to check my duration here. 2 hours and 21 minutes. So as I say, YouTube is encouraging the content creators to not only create longer content but meaningful content. That's why I always want to engage my congregation, my viewers, to ask questions, to give me something that I can add to the stream, the live stream, that is not beneficial to you but to the others that are here watching. Those again who are on my Facebook page, you're still welcome to come to the YouTube page if you have any questions. Let me just take a peek over on Facebook just to see if I can see any comments. And and I don't see any. So we'll come back to YouTube. So I appreciate again the your viewership over this year. My viewership numbers are up. My likes are up. Comments are up. YouTube does give us content creators weekly updates as to how well our streams are doing. They even give us suggestions. If one particular style of content got a lot of views, they tell us, well, create more content. And again, it's all about being um, the actual advertising dollars as you watch the replay or the live play of this. YouTube will of course monetize this. I have not played anything. I don't believe that would not put me in the actual monetized field because they didn't hear any music in the background outside of my playing. I did put a lot of talking in between it, so that won't pop up. So they'll get a chance to monetize this page. I'll get a percentage of that, which helps me to fund the software that I purchase and the equipments that I upgrades that I do here. And it is encouraging because it lets me know that it is content that you enjoy, and I hope that you are sharing this channel with every musician and non-musician that you know. I do have a second page called Samuel Tolbert. I was trying to do a separate, just a music only page, but I'm looking at doing some other content. So don't be surprised to see me pushing something out of the ordinary. As I say, I'm looking at enlarging my coast where it's not all music, but I may do some um, vlogs where I'm actually walking around my community, perhaps going into the New York City area and looking at all the different sites, creating music to go around that. And don't be surprised to see me taking apart my car, changing a ballast because one of my light bulbs is out, and I'm getting tired of paying the mechanic to do it, so that I don't have to get my hands dirty. I'm gonna get my hands dirty, and I'm gonna videotape the entire process. Of course, do some editing, so you edit out all the ouches that there may be there. But you're going to see me tear apart my car and fix an item that would normally cost me $400 to $500 to have them replace the entire item through YouTube and watching others do it. I've learned that you don't have to replace the entire headlight because it's a Lexus RX 330. If the ballast is bad, you can order it from Amazon, which should arrive tomorrow. And here's how you take it apart from the car: by decoupling your front bumper, taking out 4 screws, lifting the entire unit out of the car, tearing it apart, pulling this wire out, taking this motor off, and pulling it out. So you're going to see me tear apart my Lexus car, 115,000 miles on it, 17 years old, still runs great, and I keep it maintained. I don't need brand new when old is just as good. And so you're going to see some non-music content, which I'll add some music to it. Again, as a content creator, that's what YouTube is looking for us to do: create content that will spark the interest of those who watch YouTube. So there's more to life than just playing music and learning gospel songs. That's what you're going to see me doing: more content creation, and that will be on my other page, which I may link the video to, both pages, because that page is only has 330, I believe, subscribers, where this current page has crossed the 30,000 mark. Thank you again for those who have been joining. If you're looking at this stream and you're one of the new subscribers, you have pushed me over the 30,000 mark. That's always an exciting to see those numbers change over from 29.99. I believe it was at 3017 when I started this live stream. So keep sharing this page, keep sharing this content, and of course the likes up, and as you can see right there, I believe the subscribe button. If you're not a subscriber, what are you waiting for? You want to know whenever something, either when I go live or when I have posted new content. Thanking those that are here: Sub-Zero, Micah, Louis, my brother-in-law James Patterson, Gospel Music for Life, Wade, yes, Buddy Burnett, who did ask for a song, Awesome God. Jeff Armstrong, if you're still here. Andrew, Gift, and I believe I caught everybody that left a comment. If you were watching, as they say, watching from the back and didn't want to raise your hand, let me know that you're here. Know that I appreciate you coming in. Sub Zero, I think I got you, yes. And yes, I know you. I hope that everyone appreciates that. Hey, JG84. Hey, you doing? See somebody in the back watching. Thank you for coming and spending some time with me. As I say, I need to find a set time when I can come on and just spend some time with the YouTube viewers. I realize everybody's in a different time zone. I used to have one viewer that comes in from Romania, and it's 3 a.m. in the morning when I would come on at night. And I always be conscious that I'm not keeping them from going to sleep and then getting up early in the morning to go to work just to hear me talk. But they can always watch the replay. Thank you all for coming in and spending some time. As always, make a joyful noise to the Lord. See you all on the next live and, of course, the next viewer request. Take care. Have a good night.